Welcome to today's webinar presented by Supercoder.com. Supercoder.com is an online coding solution offering Part A and B coding reference tools, resources, and not more than 30 specialty coding and compliance newsletters from the Coding Institute in one site. I hope you enjoy this short session.
Now today's objectives on slide 2 here, we can see that what we're going to want to talk about here is we need to think about how do people actually want to use these mobile technologies. What are they using them for? How do the patients themselves want to take advantage of the fact they can have these things in their hands that they can reach out to the whole world with and stumble along a sidewalk while they just look at the little screen instead of looking at the world around them. And the providers who likewise want to be able to have their mobile technology so they can stay in touch, so they can provide better patient care. It's some fairly straightforward kind of ideas as to how you might be able to use these things and how useful they might be, especially when it gets to the issues having to do with things like the various apps that you can get that will keep track of your health care information, keep track of your health information, and what happens to that information, how does that get used. So what are some of the risks of using mobile technology? I think one of the things about these new technologies that we get exposed to is we start to use them before we start to really understand what the risks are of using them. We don't really know what the impacts are of everybody sharing their whole lives on Facebook. What does that mean down the road as far as our society and our privacy and things like that? And so we're not really sure what the impacts might be, even though we think we have some idea. So there's certainly some risks. So we need to think about, well, what can go wrong, and what about what as far as the things that we understand right now? I mean, certainly if you have a device or something that has some health information on it that's protected information, and it gets lost or stolen, and that information can get exposed, then that's the kind of thing you don't want to have happen. That kind of thing is something that we know today can go wrong and does go wrong, that we need to be on the watch for. But there's so much more than that we haven't even started to think about. I think it's something that we all need to be on the alert for and consider as compliant professionals, I think. We're talking about some of the Hippa requirements also for individuals to have access to their information and preferences for how they access their information, and also what Hippa requires for protection. And all these things have some impact on how you're going to be using laptops and portables, because what the individuals want, there are some pretty strong requirements under HIPAA for you to do your best to meet their needs and their desires, at the same time somehow protecting the information. So it's not an easy way, it's not an easy path to get through. We'll be discussing some of the issues. And part of that protection involves using an information security management process to understand what your risks are to the information and prioritize the things that you can do to minimize those risks. Now, if you look at information security, you can just spend a lifetime on it. You can spend a huge budget, a huge amount of time, unlimited resources on making things more secure. But the thing is, we don't have unlimited staffs, unlimited budgets. We have to do the best we can and come up with something that seems reasonable and appropriate. It'll get us where we need to go. And you need to have an information security management process to understand what you need to do and then make some decisions as to what you're going to do and what's most important to do. Okay, because it's really important to know what to focus on today so you can sleep a little bit better. Because when you think of all the things that can go wrong, it can be dizzying, and so you just have to be able to prioritize things and understand them and make sure you're going after the problems that you can deal with better first. And we'll be talking about obviously some of the policies and procedures that go into having a good security management process and how you're going to have policies and procedures for dealing with these mobile devices, these laptops and portables. And certainly these things have some important considerations specific to them that you need to consider in the security management process and also in the policies and procedures that you put in place, as well as the training and education you provide. People who use these things need to be aware of what the issues are. It's remarkable how easy it is for people to forget what they know about privacy and security when they have something new in their hands, or they're in a new situation, or if they leave the office and they're working from home, especially on a new device. Everything you know, you just kind of forget. It's remarkable how easy it is for people to just kind of, so, well, this is something new, and it should be okay, I think, right? Isn't it? We wouldn't be using it if it wasn't okay, right? And, well, no, not necessarily. So people need to understand how to deal with these laptops and portables so that they can do the things properly. And, there's a lot of steps involved that all involve having the user on board. If the user is not on board, the user can submarine your best efforts. You don't want that going on. And in the event something goes wrong, and something will go wrong at some point. So just assume that and deal with that as something that will happen along the way, so you are prepared for it, okay? But assume something will go wrong that winds up in a breach. And so you need to know what are the steps you have to follow if there's a breach, okay? So let's say if something goes wrong,
SuperCoder is the fastest growing online reference tool with more than 25,000 subscribers. Call 866-228-9252 to get a free product demo or sign up at supercoder.com for a 7-day free trial.